Hi everybody. Today we are going to do a very short video that's going to introduce us to a new topic that we will be learning about in the week to come. Okay, so here we have this word problem that's going to introduce it. Mr. Duncan is the highest paid employee of the internet startup company Mr. Duncan Rocks. He gets a base salary of $50 plus $10 for each day the company is still in existence. This might not be a long time since the only thing the company seems to do is talk to the media about how awesome Mr. Duncan is. It seems like a good idea for a company to me anyway. Mr. Patterson is the lowest paid and only other employee of Mr. Duncan Rocks. He makes $25 as his base salary plus $5 for each day the company stays open. Because there are a lot of media people to talk to, a third employee is needed. Mr. Hale was interviewed for the job and told that his salary would be somewhere between Mr. Patterson's salary and Mr. Duncan's salary. Mr. Hale naturally goes home to graph the situation to try to figure out his salary range if the company stays open 1, 5, 10, or 1, 5, and 10 days. Show the graph he makes and tell what he discovers. Okay, so we have this situation, which we're going to talk about on the next page. Mr. Duncan's salary can be represented by the equation y. I'm going to use y and x. Or actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to use d for days, and I'm going to talk about s for salary. So d and s. Okay? So my salary is going to be $50 plus, how much was it? $10 for each day I stay open? Yes, it is $10 for each day, so plus 10 times d. Of course, if we're going to write this in y equals mx plus b form, I'm going to want it as s equals 10d plus 50. Okay, great. So we've got that. Now, Mr. Patterson's salary is going to be s equals 5d plus 25 for the same reason. He makes $25 as his base salary plus an additional $5 for each day the company's open. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph these two things. We're going to graph S on the vertical axis and D on the horizontal axis. D is going to be easy. I'm just going to count in days 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's just do it like this. Okay, I already have my numbers there. That's what you're going to put on your screen. Okay, so D has to go by ones because I'm just talking about a small number of days. But on the y-axis, notice, or the s-axis, I have it counting by 25s because I am going to get quite high. All right, so now let's see what we have. We're going to graph the first one, Mr. Duncan's salary. And let's go ahead and change all of this. Let's call that green. And let's do Mr. Patterson's salary in red so we can color code these things. Okay, Mr. Duncan's salary, we're going to graph. It is 50 is my y-intercept. So I start on the y-axis or the s-axis and graph 50. I make that even though there are no days that I've worked. Once I've worked one day, it's 50 plus 10 times 1. So that's going to be 60. 60 is going to be somewhere around there. For number 2, for 2 days, I'm going to add 20. So it's going to be 50 plus 20 is 70, somewhere right around there. For 3 days, 50 plus 30 is going to be 80. And by this point, I can kind of see what my line's going to look like. So I'm just going to grab my line. I'm going to draw it. And I'm going to extend it like that. I'm going to make sure there is an arrow on the end. And I'm going to label it S equals 50 plus 10D. Great. Now we're going to do Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson doesn't make as much. He starts out at only 25. So his y-intercept is 25. And then he's going to go and figure out that he makes $5 extra per day. So the next day, it's 30. The day after that, 35. The day after that, 40. The day after that, 45. The day after that, 50. And so on. We have enough pattern, so we're just going to draw this with a line. Make sure there is that on it, and I'm going to label that one S equals 25 plus 5D. Okay, so now here's the main point. After I've graphed these two, I know that Mr. Hale is going to make somewhere in between these two values. So Mr. Hale is going to be concerned, actually, let's use the highlighter. His salary is going to be somewhere in here. Okay, and based on the number of days, his salary is going to go up, but it's always going to be in that range right there in between the two graphs. So to talk about how much he makes after one day, what we can do is we can draw a line. Let's make it a dotted line, and let's make it purple. We can draw a dotted line on x equals 1, or d equals 1, and I know that his salary is going to be somewhere in between this range right here. Okay, let me erase this highlighting. And to be specific, the maximum money he can possibly make is going to be this point right here. The minimum he can make is going to be this point right here. So his range of values is going to be in between Mr. Patterson's and my own. Okay, how much does Mr. Patterson make after one day? Well, it's $25 plus $5 times just one day. That's going to equal 30. That's Mr. Patterson. For myself, it's going to be 50 plus 10 times one day, and that's going to be 60. And so his salary is going to be somewhere in between 30 and 60. Okay, so we can just find that from the graph too, because this is the point here, 1 comma 60, and this is the point 1 comma 30. Okay, so it's right there on our graph. We can also use the graph to figure out after 5 days how much Mr. Hale is going to make. It's going to be a vertical line at x equals 5 instead. And then I'm going to care about this point right here and this point right here. Okay, so for Mr. Patterson, that's pretty obvious. That is going to be, let me grab my pen. Mr. Patterson's going to make $50 after 5 days. Mr. Duncan is going to make 50 plus 50 is going to be $100. Okay, and so the range for Mr. Hale is going to be 50 less than or equal to S less than or equal to 100. And finally, after 10 days, I move my vertical line to 10, and I figure out what points these are right here. That one and that one there. Okay, so Mr. Patterson has made $75. And according to the graph, which is probably off just a tiny bit, the tiniest bit, Mr. Duncan has made $150. You can do the math if you'd like, but that's the way it is. I've made $150. And so Mr. Hale is going to make something in between those two. So Mr. Hale is going to make 75 less than or equal to S less than or equal to 150. And that's it. That's how we can find a range of values from two linear equations that are graphed on the same graph. So what you're going to do, you're going to read this problem, and you are going to try to graph those two equations I give you on this axis on the fourth page, or on the fourth slide, and you're going to try to figure out what's the possible range of days left when D is 0, D is 50, D is 90, and D is 180. That is all, folks. I am done. Have a wonderful day.